Hi, Bob Saul from Lithofin, and today we're going to actually seal the sandstone pathway and steps. So what's the kit you're going to need? Today I'm going to need a pair of gloves. I've got a few white towels. Now these are for removing the excess, but what I also do is put my tray on them. With a pathway, if it's not too large, I tend to put on put the bottle into this tray. What you don't want to do is have the tin, as you're pouring it out, you can put it into a tray, but if you get a run and you get it on the bottle of the tin, you often find you get these tin shaped marks, and sometimes they don't come out. So I'll always have this tray to actually put a wet sponge with the product, but also the tin inside. Obviously we are outside, so I don't necessarily need a mask. I've got gloves on. If you were inside, I'd recommend a sprayer's mask. Today with this, because I've got a Pietra Serena sandstone, I'm actually going to use the MN Stain Stop. Now normally if you had an Indian sandstone, we'd recommend the Stain Stop W, which is a water-based. But because Pietra Serena is a little bit temperamental on the grouting process, I'm actually going to use the solvent-based. But again, you need to get the stone fully dry, released of all moisture. I cleaned this floor about 4 days ago with Lithofin Power Clean. An alkaline cleaner just gives it that light degrease, get rid of any debris. And now we're nice and dry, and I'm going to seal it through, and this is prior to me grouting this pathway. I am going to do it in small controlled sections that you will see. Normally you'll be able to do larger sections with an India sandstone, but this Pietra Serena, which is the lighter grey that you'll see, is a little bit temperamental even with sealers, so I tend to do it almost stone by stone or 1 or 2 square meters at a time. Let's have a look at the floor and then I'll run through on the application. As you can see, the stone floor is now very dry. I've got it nice and clean, and we're ready for sealing. We are ungrouted, and that's why I'm pre-sealing. Now the darker stone, slightly darker stone at the back is the Pietra Serena, and I think we've got a Kadala sandstone step. But the Pietra Serena runs all the way through the centre, and on the outer block we've got a granite set. So again, I'm going to be working almost section by section because the Pietra Serena, like I say, is a little bit temperamental with sealing, and if you try and do too much, it can almost show your workings. But again, most of you guys will be using the Stain Stop W, and that can be a lot easier to apply. So I've shaken the bottle. And what I'm going to do is just apply it to these first 2 stones to start with. We're going to just saturate that in. Don't worry about foaming. So we're going to keep this wet for maybe 10-12 minutes because it's quite porous, but as you can see, it's already starting to dry. So this is what I was saying about Pietra Serena. So I've got to keep it moving every 30 seconds to a minute of those 10 minutes. So I'll keep this moving, and then I'll show you how to take that off. But if it takes it in, add more product. Don't worry about foaming or any bubbles. The main thing is we just keep it moving. Okay, so this has now been soaking 10 minutes. That's plenty enough for me. I'm going to remove this. And what I'm going to do now is, don't worry about foaming. Again, you've applied more when it needs it. If it sucks it up, add more. And now we're going to remove all excess. Don't leave it with a wet look finish and expect it to dry in. Take one of your old white towels. Turn them over. Basically, we're removing all excess, so there's no wet look finish to dry in. We buff it so it's almost touch dry. Complete that in each section, but make sure you keep it moving. Remove all excess. We'll carry on through. Okay, so I've done this back section. I'm now going to do this front step, but obviously where that curves over, if I do get any drips, I don't want them marking on the stone because they can mark. So I've just put a few little towels there just to catch it. If I do drip anything, it'll just make sure that that catches that and we're not going to get any drip marks showing. Again, with this more textured stone, what you might find is you get a little bit more frothing and bubbling. Don't worry about that. When we buff it with the white towel, that will all come off. We do not need to worry about foaming or anything like that. Nice and generous, keep it moving. This one's not as absorbent as the Pietra Serena. It'll sit up a little bit, but just keep attending to it, keep it moving, and add to it if it needs it. Remember, the harder the stones, the longer you leave them. So again, slightly harder this front step, so maybe go 10-15 minutes rather than the 10 minutes with the Pietra Serena, which is slightly more porous. But just keep that moving, and in 5 minutes we'll buff that completely dry. So this has now had 15 minutes, towel down, and again we're just going to buff this and remove all excess. Do not leave it with a wet look finish and let it dry in. Buff it, remove it. Keep turning your towel. If you do get any fluff from the towels, don't worry, as soon as it's dry, it will just brush off. So as you can see, as this dries, it might catch you out. So again, keep it moving, keep it generous. And again, when we're working on the main path now, we're just working in small controlled sections. I've got a granite block here, which is very hard and dense, and the Pietra Serena here. But again, I'll be keeping this 10-15 minutes because of the granites, and then we'll get it buffed off. But just work in small sections and control those as you go, whatever you can reach if necessary. But I'm just letting that bleed down. As you might have noticed, the sun has come off this path now. Don't ever seal in direct sunlight. So we've let the sun go off it, it's had all day to just dry off. It's about 3 o'clock, so I'm going to be able to get this stone all sealed up, but you don't want to be sealing in direct sunlight. Again, don't worry about this foaming. The towel will take that off. Okay, so we've got the pre-seal on with the MN Stain Stop for this one. Like I said, if it was an Indian sandstone or a normal sandstone, I'd probably go with the Stain Stop W. But we are now pre-sealed, ready. This is just still drying out. As you can see, the sun's just off it, so I'm not in direct sunlight. But give that 12-24 hours. The water base would be 24. And we're ready to get grouted.